Hey, this is George.
Hey, this is Frank.
This is Real Talk with George and Frazier. What's going on, brother? How are you?
Not much, brother. Everything good? Ready
Everything's
for next
good.
week? Ready for next
Everything's
week?
good. I want to give the listeners an update with the boss lady Jay. She did apologize, but she got the time zones mixed up.
Mhm.
So we will be bringing her back on the show and rescheduling that interview. Right now, we got a great interview from a music producer. He's on with us right now. JR, welcome to the show.
Hey, how's it going,
What's
brother?
going on, fellas?
How's it
Fellas,
going?
how are you guys?
Good,
Doing
good,
pretty
Great.
well.
good.
Welcome to Real Talk. Thanks for being on the show.
Hey, no problem. I apologize. I was hoping to be in my studio, but I couldn't make it back in time. I actually just linked with a new writer, so we're
Oh
just like
wow.
going over some stuff. Yeah, and I'm on my way back home now. But I was like, oh my gosh, I gotta make it. I meant to text you guys earlier, but I was just like, I'll still be able to have my phone and talk. So
Oh,
Oh
it's
yeah,
definitely all good. We definitely appreciate you taking
we
the
do it
effort.
always.
of
You know,
course, of course, of course. I mean, but this is part of it. You know what I'm saying? In this industry, you have to be able to be on the fly. You know what I'm saying, and be able
Exactly.
to do stuff on the fly. So
right.
I appreciate you
So,
guys having me on.
no doubt, Fraser and I always try to give uh, guests we try to do their description and their background, but we always butcher it. So, why don't you just tell the fans a little bit about your background and what you've done and things of that nature?
Okay, well, I originally from Trinidad and Tobago, born and raised. Grew up under the patronage of singer-songwriter who made a lot of noise in Trinidad, developing a youth group, the youth conglomerate
Hmm.
that trained inner city kids from the ages of, I guess, around like 9 or 10 to about 16 or 17. Sometimes he had a couple of 18-year-olds, but it was really, I watched him teach people who knew nothing about music, people who knew a little bit about music, and people who were decent already at singing. And I watched him mold people week after week for free, teach them how to sing and put on these concerts. It's just, so it's like I grew up in an environment where music was cultivated and music was respected in all different types of genres, style, and so that's kind of where I got my early music start, was growing up just with my dad, international singer songwriter award, Sterling Gittens, and from there I ended up we moved to Nashville, Tennessee. My dad had some connects that he had built some networks with before, prior to us moving here. So we moved to Nashville with our entire family, and I had a lot of my music, my early music culturing happen in Nashville, Tennessee. Nashville is like really popular for just kind of like that country music scene, the alternative music scene, folk scene, and ironically, also I learned a lot about rock music, like death metal, a whole
Right.
bunch of different styles, punk rock and stuff like that. And from there, I ended up moving to Atlanta in 2008. And I was in Atlanta. That's where I kind of developed my sound as a producer,
Hmm.
and that's really where I developed myself as a person. Honestly, to be completely transparent. And I was there from 2008 to 2020, till about like July-ish, and then we just from then we moved out to LA. And so that's just kind of like living, like my living situation, just kind of my journey there. When I was in Atlanta, back in 20 like 14 or 15, I had already been on the music scene, taking care of myself as a professional bass player. That's kind of like where my early music journey started, is being a
Hmm.
musician. And while I was in Atlanta, I had a live in studio production company, kind of like what I do now, but it was on a smaller scale. It's where I kind of got the inspiration for the ideas that I had right now. And we did stuff like music staffing. When people needed events thrown, they would call us, and we would put together a band. We'll have them hire catering and other things like that, to just like to have a successful event from start to finish. That's kind of what we did. And I did that with a production partner of mine, Chris Raming. And for years, we kind of helped a lot of artists, independent artists, people just starting out, or people who already had a pretty established sound. we came together and we put together a band for them. We helped them establish their sound as far um, a consistency with their records and stuff like
Hmm.
that.
Nice.
And it was there that I kind of did a lot of building. Like my friend Chris, he had a background in marching band and in music theory. His dad was an opera singer, so it's just kind of like we took our differences and we kind of came together and we strengthened each other for a couple of years. And then my younger brother, who's a singer-songwriter artist, Will Gittens, he was at that time he was in school at Berkeley, and after he finished school at Berkeley, he moved to Atlanta with me, and it was at that time where I started really focusing on being a producer. So my
Right.
brother and I, he
Right.
like I'd always helped him with his YouTube videos and started off just mixing and just trying to, I'm from the Caribbean, so we're family first. We're always about progression of our
Right.
family as a whole. So I started off, of course, just like mixing, getting my feet wet with the mixing and the producing. He would do a rendition of a song, and I'll remake the song, and we put it out together. And then when he moved to Atlanta in 2016, we were like, you know what, let's just go ahead and put together a project from start to finish. And man, it was so frustrating. It was so scary because
Wow.
I had never put together a whole body of work. And
Hmm.
I remember before we were finished, like even when we were submitting the files to the engineer, we were nervous. We were just like, man, this is a lot of work. It's just kind of like we don't know how to register songs. We don't know how to just like how do I get the song to song from my idea right now to get it to sound like a complete idea. I mean, we were
Right.
completely green.
Right.
We had no idea, and it was in that moment that we just kind of like we're just like we had some people that believed in us and we weren't afraid to ask for help, and we had some people that put up some money to help us get that project mixed and mastered. And we were just linked with Q Million. I'm not sure you guys familiar with him. Robert Glasper, Black Radio.
Hmm.
I
He's
a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, he's the one who mixed that one. And pairing up with him, it was just divine timing. It was just kind of like we took a leap of faith in that moment, and we positioned ourselves to be in a situation where people were willing and able to help us. And we took the leap, and we're just like, okay, we're going to put this out. This is what we're going to do. And Q Millionaire, he just was
Right.
the glue in that project. He really helped us just like finalize certain parts. Like we got to a bridge in the song that I couldn't figure out how to make. I finished the bridge, and he threw a filter over the bridge, which
Nice.
is kind of it. At first, it sounded kind of like a cop out to me, but it
Mm.
fit perfectly with it, and it was just it was a simple solution. And that right there is when I learned how close I was to
Experience.
yeah, and how close I
Mm.
was to being where I wanted to go. It's just like it went from that feeling of fear to that feeling of confidence because it's just kind of like I thought I was so far away. I was nervous with like thinking about are we going to be is the song finished? Is it going to be able to be done? And literally it just took one thing to be able
Yep.
to get it from where I was completely uncomfortable to confident in like, hey, listen to my stuff, And it was just kind of like in that moment, really, it's just kind of started the train that led to us moving out here to Los Angeles. It's just like the building of that confidence and understanding that it's not necessarily about the the fame that we can amass with
Right.
like with our followers or the people how people see us or if people stop us in public and stuff like that. We've noticed that there's a power in ownership. Number one,
Right.
Yep. Yep.
there is a power in creativity.
That's right.
There's a power in connection, and like these those are some things that we kind of focus on with our brand and just kind of like with just kind of like how we progress, and we decided to really just like hone in on in the Bible it talks about like I'm not sure if you guys are religious, but in the Bible it talks
Oh,
about
I am. Go ahead,
Yeah.
talk.
yeah,
Yeah.
you
Well,
know in
definitely.
the Bible it talks about how like when God gave the gifts to the people and like some wasted it, some brought back exactly what he had. It's just kind of like a lot of times in life you might think that you're living your life to like a satisfactory level, but it's just kind of like what are you actually doing with the gift that you have.
Exactly.
And for us, we realized that just because we were doing stuff and it was sticking out and people liked it, we still wasn't living up to the level that we were
Mhm.
capable of,
That's right.
and
Exactly.
At that point, we started collaborating with a whole bunch of other people, um, like with songwriting, with production, and just that. Since we had that confidence and that new perspective and that willingness to learn and grow, which is something that's a characteristic that we've always had, but just like in the recent years, we've just been like a whole lot more willing and open to grow and to work with people. Our concepts, our creativity, our sound is shot through the roof, and that's been something that's just kind of like that's really been the catalyst for a lot of the recent success that we've had. Right now, we our first official placement was a song in 2018 with Rick Ross and Tiana Taylor and Nipsey Hussle. Actually, it was one of the last songs
Nice.
that he recorded on, and that one was through a it was a connection through an old manager of ours, and he thing was in that moment when he had to play, like he already had that connection, but now he had the right ingredients, and that was the thing that we thought this because we had the ingredients, and you know what I'm saying, and we had the play that it was going to be that was going to be the success. That was going to be the recipe to success. And it's just like, there's no real recipe to success. You know what I'm saying? For
Exactly.
us, what we go by is a definition that I learned from somebody called Earl Nightingale. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with him,
Yeah.
but he said success is a progressive realization of a worthy ideal.
Hmm.
And for us, that's just kind of like the understanding of the value and the worth of something, and and actively seeking after that. That's success, because
Right.
the type of level of dedication that it takes to actually achieve goals, the type of consistency that it takes to achieve goals, that level of success, it actually starts right there at the beginning with the understanding and the commitment to moving forward with that ideal,
Right.
you know. And that's something that we just kind of identify as just that's been our motto since we've learned it, and just kind of like that's really a kind of snapshot, like our journey, like my journey over the last couple of years. Um,
It's interesting, you know,
Yeah.
because a lot of musicians always either want to go to Miami or they want to go to New York, you know, or they want to go to LA first. But you learned a lot. You said in Nashville that took you to Atlanta. You know,
mhm,
Atlanta was a place at one time that, you know, anybody and everybody, if you didn't have a house in Atlanta or if you didn't have this in Atlanta, you were nothing. You
Yeah.
know,
mhm,
completely super saturated. But your success came from being keen enough to understand that you were circling your around yourself with people that had experience. Because what I've
mhm,
noticed in my journey in life is the fact that there's people out there that will be willing to help you, but they can't help you with nothing in your hand. You got to come
mhm,
with something,
Exactly.
and they have the ability to go, oh no, wait, hold on, this guy has something. You know, he just doesn't have this last piece to get him here. You know,
Exactly.
mhm,
so they're always willing to help you when you have something, and they kind of see the vision and go, oh no, this is real. Because I know in the music industry and even in acting, a lot of time, a lot of people really aren't your friends. Your friends, they're your friends to see who they can
mhm,
bounce off you to them. You see what I mean? Who how they
mhm,
use you to get to their next step. You know.
yeah.
So how do you combat that? You know, as you're coming up, you're growing, your popularity's moving.
Uh,
You know, do you have a gatekeeper? How does that work?
I mean, to be honest, I'm like I have a really kind of satirical personality, so it's just like, to be honest, it's like once I understanding the concept of how people move, that just lets me know how to move. And you know, it's just like I treat people with a certain level of respect and dignity, and I have my morals and I have my standards. But
Exactly.
my thing is, I don't go into any situation um expecting that anything other than what people show me, you know. And so for me, it's just kind of like when I read the four agreements, one of the ones that stood out to me was the second one. I believe it was, don't take things personal, and understanding that when somebody says something to you, they're speaking to that, their understanding of you, their perception of who you are in that moment based on the information that they have had. So it doesn't have anything to do with who you actually are as a person. And when I started seeing that, and I started understanding people and their objectives, and their own personal. Everyone has their own mo. Everyone has their own definition of success and how they're going to get there and their own desires and objectives, you know.
Hmm.
And for me, it's just like I've become so like streamlined on my own personal objectives that it's just kind of like I'm not necessarily concerned about other people's objectives. When I when I work with people, it's literally for a specific task. You know, if I have somebody in a position like a manager or something like that, then I can have different types of personality, not personalities, but different types of relationships with them. But as far as something like navigating through, like there's going to be snakes, there's going to be tricksters, there's going to be people who are going to lie to you, people who are going to steal from you. It's like right now we're like going back and forth with somebody who feels like they had claim to our recent success when they joined in the eighth or ninth year of us working, and it's just kind of like I don't know, understand how that works, how you can claim somebody's success when you actually didn't do anything. But the thing is, it's like understanding that those things are gonna come. It's just kind of like when we work with people,
Yeah.
the thing they leave with was, man, those are some real genuine good guys. And it's not because we're trying to put up a front, it's
Yeah.
because we all I can control is the positive energy that I put out there.
That's right.
I don't really care, like the negative stuff. It comes and just kind of like you look it in the face and you just ignore it, because
Yeah.
living in Atlanta, man, I saw lots of shady stuff.
Yeah.
I met I
Yeah.
met a lot of shady people, a lot of scammers. I've seen it all. So for me, it's just kind of like whenever I work with anyone, I proceed with caution, and I just make sure and give everyone the same level of directness, of honesty, straightforwardness, and respect. And then I just adjust accordingly.
Exactly.
So
That's
let me follow up on that question. Hold on, Freddie, real quick, because you said in the beginning you were green to this whole process, so you didn't even know how to copyright your music. You didn't know anything about publishing and things
Hmm.
of that nature. How
Hmm.
did you? Well, you had to learn it rapidly, but how did you learn it? Did somebody say, "Hey, call BMI, call ASCAP, and get this stuff done," or you know, because you're in the studio, you're recording,
Hmm.
right? So when you're in the studio recording, there's a good possibility, like somebody might come in and be like the guy who did the bridge for you. He might come
Hmm.
in and be like, "Hey, I want 33% of the song because I finished the song for you with the bridge." You see what I
Hmm.
mean? I've seen that happen too.
Hmm.
Them just putting somebody just doing just a little bit, but they want so
Hmm.
much in return for it. You know, how do you navigate that particular piece of it? Because there's a lot of vultures out there that are there
Understand.
specifically just to be able to leech on to somebody else's talent and get paid.
Yeah, well, so I'll answer that in a couple of parts. So for that last part, it's just kind of like from where I am now and my understanding of it, it's just kind of like it's just like you have to understand, you have to know that you don't know. Is the short answer,
Right.
yeah.
right? And it's just kind of like for me when I got into the situation with him, like now me knowing now he is entitled to a percentage of it, and me
Absolutely.
now I'm willing to give that. When I was
Yeah.
just talking to other producer, super dope, talented producer here out here in LA, Jay Blaze today, and I was just like, man, when I do tracks with people, I split it down the center. I don't care. You could just add a hi hat. I don't care, because at the end of the day, I do so many tracks, I do so many songs that it's just kind of like it's better for me to keep that business with you and
Yep.
keep that energy between you 50-50 than it is for me to try to nickel and pinch to get something out of one song. You know what I'm
Exactly.
saying? Because
Right.
I could pinch and try to get something off of that one song, and I was supposed to write a hit with you 2 weeks from now. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? And that hit could never happen because I'm trying to pinch.
Exactly.
I don't. We learned how to set ourselves up to win long term, thinking about long term. And to answer that question about just like how did I learn about that stuff, man, it's the same way I learned about how to set up the business structure that the way that we did. We have a parent company that owns the artistry and the production and the
There
joint
we go.
duo. It
Exactly how
has
you
a
do it.
LLC. Yeah, we have our LLC. We have our EIN. We have payroll for it that we take our income that we make with the business and we pay ourselves a salary that we pay our taxes for every month.
That's right.
You know, it's just kind of like, and now we're in the point where we have more, we're like getting more and more employees, and it's just kind of like we're getting more business structure with with investors and different companies that are doing partnerships with us. But it started from, man, I was telling somebody earlier today, YouTube.
Right.
To
Yep.
be honest with you, it's just kind of like the way that the YouTube algorithm is set up right now. YouTube, you can ask YouTube a question. The question could not even be that good of a question. You know what I'm saying? They always say there's no such thing as a bad question. And that's
Yep.
true. You ask YouTube a question, how to register a song. If I look up 6 videos of how to register a song, I guarantee I could find something in common in those 6 videos.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And after I show those 6 videos, there's going to be a related video of, now that your song is registered, what's next? You know what I'm saying? Or you could
Right.
actually just ask YouTube that question. So it's just kind of like learning how to search. That's just another skill. You know what I'm saying? You have to learn how to help yourself. That's one thing that a lot of people, they get into situations and like they might win really quickly and they don't know how to help themselves, or they might not get the opportunity, or they might not have the upper hand. They might not have the budget or the parents with money, and they sit and they wait for opportunity. They wait for people to recognize their talent. This industry is not a talent-based industry; it's a catalog-based industry right now.
That's right.
And it's just kind of like it's all about numbers. So if you're sitting there waiting, the only thing you're waiting on is your death. Like
Yeah.
it's not ain't nothing else guaranteed. It's just kind of like you have to learn how to ask the right questions. You have to learn how to position yourself correctly, and the quickest way to do that is figuring out what you want. And that's something I
Right.
told my brother as an artist. Like my brother is like he was able to amass, like together we were able to amass like 20 to 20 30 million streams independently, no playlists. That was
Nice.
just from that's even with the janky Instagram algorithms and Facebook
Right.
algorithms, and that's with I think it was something like 17 published or 20 published songs or something like that. It's a pretty low number. It's just kind of like
Yeah.
we're able to do a lot. But if you really look at those numbers compared to a Chris Brown or Justin Bieber, it's
Yeah.
just kind of like that's something that you would get like first week or something like that on a
Yeah.
song. And it's the thing is like how do you compare your success to that? You know what I'm saying? How you gauge your success from I'm like to be honest, and I mean it got to points with us where we had to have that conversation. We were just like, bro, like you have to take a step back and look at where first of all we came from, look at where we started, and look at where you line up stacked up to the people who are like in your similar type of situation. Because sometimes we can get caught up in seeing other people and what other people
Yeah.
have, but understanding it's just like going back to my point, it's just like what you want. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Do
Exactly.
you want to be the same scale as a level as a Justin Bieber or of a Jason Derulo or one of those artists? Because if that's the case, then the way that you're going about this whole process is wrong.
Right.
Exactly.
You can't be trying to do this independently. You know what I'm saying? It's like once you understand really what you want, it will let you know the steps that you need to take. If you're like, listen, I don't want to work hard. I just want to show up in the studio and I just want to sing songs that other people write for me and look pretty.
Right.
Sign to a record label.
Exactly.
Right.
Get the record deal. You know what I'm saying? 100%. If you're like, man, I don't want anybody controlling my creative, um, my creative direction. I don't want anybody owning my masters. I'm all about freedom of musical expression. You can't be upset if when you go to labels and try to meet with them that they don't want to push your music. You
Right.
know
Exactly.
what I'm saying? Because you have to
Because
you have
what
to
you
know
need is
your
a
climate.
publishing deal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's
You
same
know what
with
I'm
me.
saying? You just
Exactly.
yeah.
That's same with
So
me. I learned exactly what you learned. By making trial and error. I learned about trial and error. When I first started wanting music, I said, I want the music. I want the music. I want to man. I don't want to sing. I couldn't sing. So I couldn't sing, but I could do other things. I can manage you. I can get people to see you. I can do this stuff. So I thought of the management portion of it. And go back to saying what you pick up what you're saying is when I first got into it, one thing I learned, because I did some business background, I learned with contracts. I learned how to build a group of successful people who want to do the exact same thing you do, exact same goals, exact same thrive. So what I did was I started building a team. I built a team, and I learned how to produce. I learned how to write a song. I learned how to do this. I learned small portions of it, but
mhm.
it wasn't good enough.
Right.
And now I tell people, like you say, what you want. a lot of my go to artists, I interviewed artists. What are you actually coming for? What do you actually identify yourself? Who do you want to be yourself? They say, oh, be this. Why be yourself? If you want to go independent route, identify yourself as yourself. Identify yourself above everybody else. Identify yourself to be different. Try a style that is different from everybody else's style. I'm singing the exact same song or cover song like the same person singing the song because they're for the exact same person. They I mean success, but don't know who you are. You sung a Chris Beaver song, Justin Bieber song with your voice. It's still Justin Bieber song.
Right.
You know? You add a twist to it, but it's still his song. He's still getting the credit for the song, not you. You know?
Exactly.
You ever do more creative side. So I used to tell them you have to have at least 20 songs in your head written down. Then you have to have at least produce 2 of the songs a week perfectly. We rehearsed. I had what I call a production schedule, where Friday, Saturday was writing. Monday, Tuesday in the studio rehearsing rhythmism, bars. Thursday and Friday, you lay it down.
Right.
You start the process all over again. And if you follow the process, a lot of when I go and actually negotiate a contract for you, guess what? You're ahead of the game. You can identify certain things. This way, you got album done? Sure, you say you can tell me, dude. Not a problem. But guess what? Every time you tell me you got an album, they expect the album to come forth. They cut you off a slack of what you say. What album done? Oh, you do? Interesting. So now we negotiate, you know. But the first deal, the first deal is never the right deal. So my question to you is, like, when you tell the artist to choose between independent and actually getting signed by a label, and what do you actually give them tips on it, or do you say, look, as a producer, I would suggest you go this route or this route? Yeah. They froze it a bit.
You froze it.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah. The last part of what you said, it kind of cut out, but yeah, okay, no, so dude, like you understand exactly. Yeah, you understand exactly what my point was.
Question was,
you asked the question.
Yeah, the point was he asked if an artist comes to you and say, "I want these particular parameters," how do you section them out? You know, like you were saying, go get a major record deal or go get a publishing deal. You know, because you deal with a lot of artists. Do you understand that in the first conversation that you have with them, or do you guys have a strategy meeting? Oh, we just lost him.
Oh, we just lost him because of connection.
Yeah, he'll come back.
He come back. It's part of connection. But I was saying the same concept of that was when I was doing it and learning the difference between a producer contract, artist contract, publishing contract,
writer contract,
management contract. It's almost 50 different contracts for 50 different things. Yeah. And so some people producers come in, some producers know it, some people don't. And now most people make the most money is producers. That's majority of the money goes to them. They go to the contract back. So
can you hear us?
Can you hear us now? There we go.
Can you hear us? JR, can you hear us?
The internet down here is
in the bad connection area.
Oh, okay.
So recap of the question was.
Wait, he can't hear us. Can you hear us?
Think a little bit. Yeah.
I just texted him now. See if you can hear us. You can't hear us?
Oh, yeah, no, it's just got this.
That's probably the areas.
This is like closer we head in here. Yeah.
You can't hear us? You can't hear us?
I'm in the city.
Oh, okay. It probably a big city. Probably the city because of the buildings. But Gomez was saying the same thing. And he made very good points on a lot of things that young producers should learn and should know. You know?
Right.
And that's a good tip because when you first get in the industry, don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Now, what I learned is some have chip on their shoulders. That's some will help you. Some will let you fall and trail and fall in error and hope God that you figure out what it is. That's how I learned most of my stuff. I learned by trial and error.
Right.
It's right here. So that's why I said a lot of times it's just like business. You want that we do real estate, exact same thing. You build connections. You build a solid group with you that they coming in, yeah. And you work your way around that. And one of my thing about my first group of he bought me a group and I had an open contract.
Can you hear us
Oh,
now?
You hear that?
yes.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Yeah, back. You know, we realize that you're driving, so sometimes the internet will be spotty. But we
Yeah,
just
no.
wanted to catch
The
you up
question.
real quick on the back part of Fraser's question.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
how do you assess artists real quick? Do you just like you're good to be a writer, you want a major record label, or you understand that this is it and you can do independent work? Because I wanted to piggyback off of what you said about what you and your brother were able to do, you know, with
Mhm.
millions of views, millions of downloads. The difference
Mhm.
was you guys did it without the big machine. You did it
Mhm.
without $1 million budget from Capitol Records. You see what I
Mhm.
mean? And that's just as important as having that $1 million. You see what I mean? Because
Mhm.
if they didn't have that $1 million in promotional money, they wouldn't have 50 million downloads. Nobody would know who they are. You see what I
Yeah.
mean? So to pull that from the grassroots, the way that you were able to pull that from the grassroots and keep it organic, will
Mhm.
will basically, you know, I see it in my opinion that will pay for its spades in the future, because you know,
Yes.
I mean, you're going to have real fans that are
Exactly.
going to follow you, and you're going to have a lot of word of mouth. Yo, check this out, this, that, and the third, boom, boom, boom. You know, without having that big budget that you have to expense. So
Yeah.
how do you decipher the artists that come to you? How do you manage those artists?
Well, yeah. Honestly, it's really it's on them where they want to go with that. Like, if, for instance, with my brother, like he's an artist and he's my brother, same mom, same dad, but I'm a business owner, right? And I'm part owner of a business, and he's a part. And so when we look at his brand, we look at it objectively, you know. So for him, when we talk to him about, like, I asked him like a client, like where where do you see your end goal? And when he told me about where he saw his end goal, it's just kind of like that was just when he was just like, all right, well, I don't necessarily want to be like on tabloids. I don't want to be followed around by paparazzi. I don't care to be like that popular. You know what I'm saying? I don't care to be that.
Yeah.
I just want my music out here. I just want to be able to control my freedom, and then just to be able to have my music out there and to grow organically, to then eventually be able to put money to my budget, and it's just like, so when he said that, that's what made us decide, okay, what we will do is we'll come up with a joint production duo, and we'll write songs and produce songs for other people. So artists and so managers will bring their artists to us, and we'll, same way that I'm sitting here talking to you guys are getting more information from me. We sit these artists down, we get a feel for them, we figure out where they are in their life, and then we we personalize and cater a song to them. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like the whole understanding the whole journey of where they're trying to go, their destination. It helps us write a story. You know what I'm saying? And it's just kind of like, whether that story is a song, whether that story is a brand, you know,
Mhm.
that's how we kind of that's how what we used to decipher. We use what they want long term, and also sometimes, like, let's say somebody's just like, oh, I want to be this type of artist, but they don't like writing songs.
Right.
Exactly.
You know, it's just kind of like, then we can be like, all right, well, this is what you want, but this is probably where it would be the most. This is probably where you'll be better suited
Right.
because of that. You know what I'm saying? So it's just kind of like finding out people's strengths and their desires is like really the number one things that helps us place them for like kind of where they're going to be able to be the most successful. I'm not sure. Did I answer your question?
Yeah.
Yeah, you did, but I have a follow up. Oh, his internet is out
And,
again. Don't
yeah,
forget he's driving, so he'll come back. Um,
yeah, that was good though. That
I
was
mean, yeah,
yeah.
you know, he's doing exactly what you know, Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis are doing, and you know what Motown did for a long time in artist
Exactly.
development. You know, and other
Time
other
ago.
writers.
Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely um, it's
Yeah,
definitely what it's definitely what young artists need at these
exactly.
particular times. Because if you walk into a situation and you don't know anything about it, there's no way that you can see. All right,
Exactly.
we know you're driving. Just a few more questions, and then we'll definitely let you go. Oh, you can't hear us?
I actually just got back to my house, so it should be getting a lot
Okay.
better right
Oh,
now.
there you go.
So
Cool.
All right, cool. But I wanted to follow up with that because what you're doing is a lot of artist development. Like Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, or
mhm.
what Babyface was doing with L.A. Reid, and writing songs, packaging them, putting them out to people like, New Edition and Nita Baker and stuff like that. And how do you do it more cost effectively? You know what I mean? Because a lot of those
Hmm.
Yeah,
industries went under because they
Uh,
spent too much money in artist
Well said.
development, but they weren't selling records.
Well, the thing about it, appreciate it. Thing about it is you use the word development. Now, to be honest with you, that's not necessarily a thing that happens anymore.
gotcha.
Okay.
To be transparent, like that's just it's not a formula of the industry. It's not something that typically happens with artists.
Right.
For us, the model that we typically work with is people who have already have people obligated to them. For instance, a situation where we would have a manager that would come to us. The manager already has vested interest that's looking for budget. So for
Right.
us, we're a part of a puzzle. We're part of a puzzle of this is um, taking on responsibility
Hmm.
Exactly.
for someone, and that really for us is how we um, basically keep that cost down is because we're not really taking on any cost. Our cost that we're taking on is sorry. Our cost that the cost that we're taking on right now is basically just whatever it the time that we put in to developing the song for the artist and stuff like that. So we
Right.
learned that not all currency is just the money that you're spending. It's just kind of like learning how to invest because time is the best currency you have, honestly.
That's
So
right.
learning how to invest that currency, and that way it's just kind of like if anything it's not wasted because we at least come away with some sort of product
Right.
Exactly.
that we
Right.
have majority ownership in. So it's usually a win-win just because it's my brother and I in the situation. So we're typically majority owners in most of the songs that we're doing just by the nature of it.
Right.
And like for us, that's a way that it's kind of like a failed safe for us, a safety net to
Hmm.
cut back on that is because we don't outwardly just be like, okay, we're gonna take you on. That was the old model. That was the model
Yeah.
that we tried to when I started in Atlanta, when I just started out my production company. That's the first model that I tried to. I try to incur costs. I try to make life easier for artists and stuff like that. But the thing is, in this industry, it's like this, man. It's like an ocean. If you can't swim, it doesn't. You don't do anybody justice handing them a noodle because when it gets deeper in the ocean, it's just like it's nothing really you can do for them.
Exactly.
You know,
That's
it's just
right.
kind of like better you help teach people how to swim, or at least help them find people who have a boat that
Right.
will be able to.
Exactly. That is true. That's so true. Like when you doing that, do you have a certain checklist you develop that you gotta go through a certain checklist with the artist to verify that they see, hey, this artist, this category, this artist should be in this category, artist in this category, and it allow you to navigate to the right category or style. Like, say a person come to you, I don't know my style. I don't know if I'm alternative. I don't know if I'm pop. I don't know if I'm to be country. I don't know. Like, how do you help artists figure out their identity in that
Right.
particular industry?
Oh, it froze a little bit. He
Yeah,
might be coming back on the Wi-Fi.
yeah,
We can still hear him. I don't know if he can hear us.
yeah. It's funny. It's right. It goes a little bit. Yeah, but yeah, that's one thing. I'm an old dinosaur when it comes to that part. I did a
I
development
think we all are. I
part.
think we all are.
Hey, nowadays more digital. Everything analog, and And when you develop an artist, my friend, you do it. And some of the tougher challenge you have with artists is trying to identify what style they want to go in. They want to be pop. They want to be R&B. They don't want to be a mixture. So I used to tell them, be yourself. Define yourself in something different. Try to find a niche that you can work yourself in and maybe different. I'm going to first artist. Oh, you're back. There you go. So reflect the question I was just asking a few minutes ago.
Your phone was switching from mobile to Wi-Fi.
Yeah. So yeah, so I'm asking, like, do you have a certain technique that help artists to define what style or identity they want to go into, either pop, country, or alternative?
Ooh, that one's difficult. Actually, the person who just like dropped me off, the artist I was just with, she primarily is she does R&B, and like, but she's from the Caribbean, you know, so she could she has that, not like, she talks with the Caribbean patois, but she doesn't sing with it. So at the end of the day, it's just kind of like, if I just assumed that just because she could talk the Caribbean patois, that you know what I'm saying, I just threw her in a session, you know, that's where it's just kind of like, it's all about learning people. There's no shortcuts to this. You actually have to take the time to get to figure out what people's strengths are, their weaknesses, just like, and how they could be of the like the most assistance to you and themselves, you know.
Right.
And that's kind of like how we decide. Usually they have a kind of idea for themselves, what type of style that they want to use, or like what type of direction that they want to go. But for us, we just kind of, we have a vetting process of just making sure that we figure out the, you know, the best song possible for them.
What other big placements have you done with your music? And I mean, you know, have you done with big artists? Yeah, I don't know, Taylor Swift, or you know what I mean? I mean, I don't know. I'm just asking. You know, or you know, do you prefer to work with mid-range artists and local artists that continue working, but you don't have to deal with all the superstar nonsense that goes along with it? Lost him again.
Bro, no,
he's moving around. He's like, he's not sitting down. So
here you go. He's back.
Man, I don't understand what's going on. I had to leave my house because like the internet's not working, my service is not working. I'm standing outside right now. Just
I see.
All right. Well, we definitely,
it's like it's not working, so I'm just we're gonna thug it out though.
Oh yeah, we get it done.
But the question that I had was, what other big placements do you have? For working with big superstars like Taylor Swift, or do you prefer working with mid-range artists?
The only thing I caught was mid-range artists.
Okay, do you prefer working with superstars like a Taylor Swift, or do you prefer working with mid-range artists?
Oh my God.
Can you hear me?
No, I can't hear you. It sounds like I'm talking to a robot.
Oh, damn.
It's not coming all the way through.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. It's these days internet, because everybody use it. I think everybody use internet now one time now. A lot of internet's strong in some places and not strong in other places.
Yeah, so, I mean, you know, when you have a lot of people jumping on the network, we can definitely understand that. But we appreciate JR coming back on the show to try to get the interview done. You know, it was a great lesson in the music industry and how the industry has changed, you know, and what's changing, what's developing, what's happening. And we definitely appreciate him continuing to come back into the interview and set us straight.
There you go.
Can you hear us now? No? Can't hear us?
I can hear talking, but I don't hear.
And there he goes.
Yeah. Well, I think, honestly, believe it or not, if we go back on a pandemic, I think it's going to be happening a lot because everybody going to be on the internet. You know? And,
well, it's happening now. You know, with the second wave, and they're thinking about a third wave for Christmas. You know, so we'll just deal with it.
Exactly.
Can you hear us now?
Yeah, man, it was better on the road.
Yeah, right? It was. But it's all good, man. We appreciate you really, pushing the interview and coming back on to talk to us because the insight that you have is really, really, really helpful to our listeners and everybody else. But like I said, the question that I had: do you prefer working with superstars or do you prefer working with mid-range artists?
I prefer to make good music, bro.
Nice,
The thing is,
nice.
it's like that. That's a misconception. Like I think a lot of people, the way that this industry is right now, I think that the word superstar got blurred with talent. You know what
Hmm.
I'm saying? It's just kind of like it's not. It's I'm not gonna go all the way into it, but it's just kind of like it's more about like advertising and brands these days, not about talent. And sometimes these people who are weighted on hand and foot, that they kind of get accustomed to people treating them like that. So and but I mean, you could run into independent people who act like that too, and I have
Right,
run into
right.
independent people who act like that. So for me, I take it on a person to person really. Me and my brother recently we were working on Rotimi's next project that's coming out. Actually, working with him, yeah, he's cooler, like, and like friendlier and more personable than some most of the independent artists that I work with. And
Right,
it's just kind of
right.
like he's got budget, and it's like he's got.
We lost them again.
Yeah, probably moving to the left, a little
A
to the
little bit to
right.
the right, too.
Tell Mari now that we're talking about
Are you
removing.
back with us? Can you
There
hear
we
us?
go.
You cut out a little bit.
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, beautiful. Well,
Yeah, I was
listen,
just saying that. Yeah, I was just saying that. Oh yeah. Sorry.
go ahead, finish your thought.
Oh yeah. Long and short of it, it's just kind of like the when somebody has the desire and the goal to make good, genuine, solid music. That's really the core of what we care about. We care about translating that feeling and emotion and putting it away that as many people can identify with it as possible. You know.
Absolutely. We want
Absolutely.
to leave it there. We want to thank you for coming back into the show and really pushing and finishing the interview. We definitely would like to have you back on the show again. And we thank you for taking the time to come in on Real Talk.
Definitely.
Oh yeah, we're definitely have you come back for part two because
Hmm.
we want to
No,
get
I
it.
appreciate you guys.
Fine, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. No, again, I really appreciate you.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate you giving me a chance to talk. Hopefully, somebody listening or um, somebody listening to coming up can get some nuggets of information that was helpful, that would put them in a better position than I was when I was in their position. So,
That is true.
Absolutely.
That is true.
Absolutely.
thanks again.
Thank you. No problem.
Thank
Thanks for
you.
being on the show.
Thank you, brother.
Oh, man.
Great
Great
mind,
interview.
man.
But, the thing about it is knowledge is free. You know what I mean? And if you're willing to just give the knowledge and people that are willing to listen, that's where you have a lot of the big uh, aha moments when it comes,
Exactly.
you know. So just an awesome, I mean, think about it. They actually structured their business company like you would structure a real estate company.
Exactly.
That's why
Right?
it's not. You have the parent company with this, you
Yeah.
have the apartment portfolio company that owns the real estate, you have the fix and flip company that does all your fix and flips, you pay yourself. You see what I mean?
Exactly.
All that. I mean, to be able to have that knowledge, man, that's through the roof. These
Exactly.
young brothers are definitely doing it. And we
Exactly.
definitely appreciate them uh,
Exactly. That's
sharing
good.
that knowledge.
Man, if I learned that back then, I was coming up, man. Imagine where we could have been, George.
Yeah,
Imagine
man.
learning a lot
But that's
sooner.
all right. I'm not dead yet, Praise. COVID didn't kill me, so I'm
We're still
definitely gonna
learning.
get there. I'm definitely gonna get there. Well,
Oh,
fans,
we gonna get there.
that's our show. We want to thank JR for coming on again. We have another show with financial advisor Jay Rowland is going to be on tomorrow,
Yes, tomorrow.
which is good because we have to set the premise up for what's happening in the economy right now. How do you set it up for the future? So it's going to be a great interview. 8 o'clock tomorrow. Jay Rowland, special time, Friday.
Get a boost. Get a boost to 2021.
Yeah, man.
Actually, man, we need that.
This is George,
This is Frage.
and this is Real Talk with George and Frazier. We'll see you guys tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.